Why have people looked the same for the last 20 years? Like, if you go back and watch the first episode of The Office that was filmed in 2004, you don't look at them and say, oh my gosh, look at those hairstyles and those clothes. But if you went back to any previous decade, you would. Like, 1970s guy is a Halloween costume you can get on Amazon right now with the bell-bottoms and the perm. If a character showed up in a movie set in the 1980s dressed like that, you would think they were in a Halloween costume, and that's just 10 years later. And if you're going to say, well, yeah, but that's movies, that's not realistic, I am telling you, when I was growing up in the 1980s, I remember looking in a photo album of my parents from 10 years before, from the 1970s, and all of us just laughing our heads off at the outfits and the hair. And you can go by decade. If you ask somebody my age to visualize the 1950s, we will close our eyes and picture something like this. Then if you ask us to picture the 1960s, you will get something radically different. If you were to switch the two, they would look like they were on the wrong planet. And again, these are gaps of just a decade. It used to be that you would have TV shows that were about an era 20 years before, like Happy Days was made in the 1970s and was about the 1950s, and it was about a totally different world. The Wonder Years, the same thing. It was in the 1980s and made about the 1960s, about this bygone era. Can you imagine somebody doing a show today about the bygone era of 2003? I don't even think they would have to make costumes that are period accurate. This is from 2003. I am, of course, not the first person to notice this. There's a viral Twitter thread just yesterday where they were looking at video footage from 2002 and saying that could have been shot yesterday, and pointing out that the only signifier of which era you're in is what kind of phones they're using and how big the monitors are on their desks. Is there any explanation for this?
I know a lot of the younger people I know don't remember the sun being yellow. It was like that when I was growing up. You could be outside for hours and hours and hours and not get sunburn. And I ask a lot of people, didn't the sun used to be like yellow? And a lot of people are like, no, it's always white. But then you ask older people, they're like, yeah, it used to be yellow. So the sun has changed color and nobody's been paying attention to see it. So now this is what you see, is that wicked, sharp, bright white light, which kind of resembles like an LED light.
Por que o mundo está perdendo a cor? Se você começou a perceber que o mundo está cada vez mais sem cor, não é a sua imaginação, mas a realidade. Nessa mesma pesquisa de 2022, provou-se que vivemos com menos de 50% das cores que nós usávamos no passado. Nick Hobson, cientista comportamental da Apex Scoring Solutions e professor da Universidade de Toronto, diz que isso também é um reflexo direto dos nossos algoritmos e dados para ler a realidade. Afinal, quando você junta uma massa quase infinita de dados, a resposta óbvia que você vai extrair disso é justamente a média. E conforme mais e mais pessoas e empresas vão tentando se encaixar no novo padrão, mais as coisas ficam medianas e sem graça. Segundo essa pesquisa, a maioria das coisas ao seu redor estão se tornando monocromáticas por dois motivos. A inflação, que deixou o custo da impressão de embalagens coloridas mais caro ao longo dos anos, e também para se encaixar no atual padrão mais facilmente replicável. Assim, das empresas de carros a banquinhos de cozinha, as cores facilmente replicáveis e que estão dentro da massa não causam oposições, nem ofendem ninguém. Conseguem baratear grandes quantidades iguais e vender em qualquer local do planeta, sem ter que adaptar a nenhum gosto, gênero, raça ou cultura. Você está sendo obrigado a ser desbotado para que o mundo venda mais, fique igual e seja aceito. Cores? Para onde elas foram? Por que tantos programas de TV e filmes parecem ter sido gravados num terreno baldio cinzento? Possível resposta número 2. Todo mundo estava tentando imitar Matrix. Paleta de cores de Matrix, o filme mais influente do século. Marvel Ultimate, os quadrinhos que deram origem ao MCU. O estilo habitual de quadrinhos de super-heróis, com páginas de cores extravagantes, vilões fantásticos e enredos complicados, não interessava ao público jovem e adulto, que preferia o estilo estabelecido pela franquia Matrix.
It is you! Apenas, all these years, I can't believe it. Oh, God. You ruined every suck my silky ass thing! We had grace, we had style, we had conversation, not this beep, 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 beep. Act. Films, books, they were all better. Originality mattered. You gave us space to suck and couch flicks, climate-y wiki peasant shit!
例えばあなたも立派なサイボーグですよ。
しかし私は義手も義足も人工臓器も使っていません。
何らかの携帯情報端末を持っていますよね。
それはまあ誰でも持っているのでは？
コスデバイスも。
もちろん。
そして家にはホームオートメーションと AI セクレタリー。
ええ。
それらのデータが災害や事故によって一気に失われたらあなたはどうなりますか？
それは復旧するまで何の仕事もできません。
自分の生活をそこまで電子的な装置に委託しているのにサイボーグではないと言っても説得力はありませんよ。あなたにとって携帯端末はすでに第二の脳だ。違いますか？科学の歴史は人間の身体機能の拡張、つまり人間機械化の歴史と言い換えても差し支えない。だから程度の問題なんです。
Damage.
The signal induces a brain tumor in the viewer. It's the tumor that creates the hallucinations.
Do you let me watch it?
I believe that the growth in my head, this one, right here, I think that it is not really a tumor. Not an uncontrolled, undirected little bubbling pot of flesh, but that it is, in fact, a new organ, a new part of the brain. I think that massive doses of videodrome signal will ultimately create a new outgrowth of the human brain, which will produce and control hallucination to the point that it will change human reality. After all, there is nothing real outside our perception of reality, is there? You can see that, can't you?